Thank you very much for joining me today, Jens. We had a short little conversation in German, but we're switching to English here. This is an English-speaking podcast. Today is a holiday here in Berlin, a bit not over there at your place. So Jens, I'm very keen and to find out what is the story, what is the person behind Voraus Robotik. So you are founder and CEO, and I'm very glad that you took the time to be guest on my podcast. I think the first time we really actually spoke was on the Slush last year in Helsinki, and yeah, I'm very happy that you said yes very fast, actually. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Ilya. Happy to be here.
What I normally do is trying to really find out who's the person behind robotic, behind the projects, behind the companies. And I would like to find out, how did you came in contact with robotic? Is there something that you started very early on, or the STEM classes, the STEM topics? Is that something that interested you very early on, or as some of the other guests and myself included came to robotic very late in life? Very curious to find out.
Yeah, okay. I mean, let me start with kind of a high-level introduction of myself. And I mean, it would be a lie to speak open that like after my birthday, so first birthday, I realized immediately that I love robotics and I have to like shape the future of robotics and automation. No, this is not true. But again, let me start with my high-level CV. So I went to school classically. Of course, or obviously, I was much better in mathematics than in like German. All those classes around. Studied mechanical engineering at the University of Hanover. Spent some time in Canada, did research there as well. And during my studies, I decided to dive a little deeper into robotics and automation. Why? Super interesting, and to speak super open, some of my friends did the same way as well. So we decided more or less together this kind of, let's call it a common decision. After my studies, I did my PhD in robotics, so dive even deeper into robotics and even provided some classes at university. So I provided, for example, the robotics classes at university and so on and so further. Again, did my PhD, spent another 5 years at university. So did kind of research in the field of robotics in different verticals, spent again some time abroad in Canada. And during that time, even, what was like driving me, as mentioned, I did research at university, and at the same time, so I started in 2012, I founded my first company. So creating products from research results, because I want to see things or results fly. And this is more or less where the story started. So this is more or less my history and background.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm very curious to find out more about going over to Canada, especially as this is not necessarily the normal way for, I mean, if you go to university and you do exchange programs, yes, but you said that afterwards you went back to Canada again. Where exactly in Canada you've been to?
In Edmonton, so University of Alberta.
And is that something that you planned very early on to spend some time overseas, or is that something that just came across?
So I wanted it super hard during like school time, even like class 11 or around that. This is quite common that like pupils go to the US and something like that, but it's super expensive. So regarding like my background, my family, and so on and so further, so my parents, it was not possible in my case. So I postponed this wish more or less to the studies time, because I mean, when doing like mechanical engineering or mechatronics or informatics, computer science, and so on and so further, there are certain programs that someone pays for you to like participate in such an exchange program. And that was more or less my motivation and the reason when I took this chance and went to Canada. Why Canada? US, it would have been an option as well, UK as well, and Canada as well. And why Canada again? Some of my former colleagues went to Canada and became professor at this university. So the contact was already there. And then it was more or less an invitation from them towards me. And then I said, of course, yes. The topic was good, like the surrounding was good, the language. Motivation was, of course, as well, like improve your English, because this is like a common language all over the world, especially in science and so on and so further. And that was like the start of this journey. And usually, listen to what I say. Sometimes I just take decisions without like having a big matrix of pros and cons and what could be alternatives. But there is a chance, so grab the chance and just give it a try, and then you can adapt like your decision on your way. This is my mindset. Yeah.
Mm. You mentioned that you were not on your own, you were kind of a clique. So a few people, a few friends of yours that decided to go together, also to Canada?
No, I went to Canada alone, so on my own. They went, one of my friends went to the US and the other to Spain and so on and so forth. So we more or less separated during that time even. Yeah, during that time. But we are still in contact, yeah.
And how much time did you spend in Canada?
Roughly 1 year, so almost 1 year during studies, as mentioned. Yeah.
What I found very interesting is that you said that you went even deeper into studies. So you did a PhD 5 years, which is a very long time, right? So normally when you're speaking to people that are very deep into research, they continue going on staying in research because this is their passion. But you said very early on, you said you were mentioning the year 2012, that you decided to become a founder. And so I think this is always very curious for people that are in R&D or in research in general, to make the decision, maybe I could actually use that knowledge and put it into use, right? Finding customers, solving problems, real life problems, and finding problems so worth that people are paying for it. And yeah, maybe you can tell me a little bit how it came. Was it a one-time decision, or just a moment, or was it a progress that you actually found yourself into becoming a founder?
So it was not like that. I had kind of a 24-month plan, and I defined pros and cons of founding a company. But maybe I jump a little back in history. So I met Tobias Ottmeyer, former professor of the university or the institute I spent my time at. And then, like, why founding? We received kind of a project at university where we were asked to develop a new mobile robot for logistics. And at university, it's more that you like do a technical proof and do research of certain deep tech topics, for example. So you not create concepts or do like real development. And then we sat together and we raised the question, why is it like this? And so why is it like this separated, like doing research and creating products? And if we immediately found something, we can combine both worlds. So do kind of technology or knowledge transfer even from university to industry. And again, I haven't thought about that step too much because, how big is the risk? This is always my question. The risk is more or less zero. Maybe you fail with like your first startup or your company, but you don't have to invest too much besides your own time. So if you're willing to invest your own time and like sleep a little like less, don't have weekends and things like that, then it's like it's an easy decision to simply found and give it a try and then adapt again on your path.
I think this is very valuable for a lot of people that are not necessarily only doing in research, but founders in general, because the rate is still very high that you fail, right? So I'm not 100% sure about the numbers, but something that you hear very often, 9 of 10 startups have failed within the first 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So you said, okay, failing. This kind of mindset is not necessarily the German mindset, trying things out and failing. It used to be, but now with over-regulating, everything needs to be very, very secure. I see this very often in the work with my customers, that POCs can be done very easily, but giving a go for project, it's very hard. You have a lot of engineers involved, and there need to be certain requirements be filled, and a certain outcome, a certain ROI that needs to be done within 2 years. Versus in America, I see much more often that they just go for it, they just buy it, and then just test the product. So you said failing is just part of things, right? And if you accept this, you spend some actually valuable time because you learn a lot. But how it actually came together that you said, okay, you know what? Let's build a company and let's try this out. How did this came together?
I mean, the question is always, what does failure mean? Does failure mean you haven't created like a moonshot or a unicorn? Is it failure? Because seriously, I became so smart during like the first 1 or 2nd year. And even like, I mean, the company was super successful that we created, but even in case of like unsuccessful establishing of such a startup, I would have learned, or I learned so much, met the right people. I understand now like how to build teams, how to like even create a cap table that works, who could be your co-founder, I mean, which topic to take care of, and so on and so further. And this was like a super learning curve. And even in case of like insolvency or whatsoever, quite common in the US, by the way, but they don't take care that much about such topics. Even in such a case, it would be a great success for me personally and my team around. I mean, it's not always, or it's not, I mean, not even always, it's never just about me. It's about like the founding team, the employees, and so on and so forth. Of course, because I love to enable people. So my biggest sunshine is when I see people creating great things, and I more or less enabled them, and I provided kind of the platform, I guided them, and so on and so further. This is what drives me a lot. Yeah. Not sure if this answers your question. What was your question, by the way? Sorry.
I mean, it's for me, it's always interesting to find out what drives people and what is behind some moves, some things that when you take action, what is behind that? What is the motivation? What brings people to actually being able to pull those moves off, right? And you said one of the reasons why you built that company is first obviously you had a product that you trusted in, right? And then you said, secondly, there's a team behind it that you trusted as well. And together you're much stronger. And then if you have the balls to just go for it and try, you said you've become very successful for the first company. Can you tell us a little bit more about this, what it means? And in the first company was pretty successful.
So
not necessarily in numbers, but
yeah, this is fine, I guess. So we more or less, I mean, it was kind of a bootstrap company. This is like a buzzword, I know. So no investment or like third-party capital went into this company. We did like a project-based or service-based business model and created our own IPs and so on and so further. And I remember the step when we hired our first employee. This was quite a crazy step, because then you automatically have kind of cash flow monitoring to do, or you have like running costs and so on and so further. So you more or less raise this company to a second level. At the end, we were like 30, maybe 35 employees, and we more or less linked this company at the end to a robot-assisted surgery company. So it was kind of a sell of this company. Yeah. I mean, a couple of reasons to jump into this topic immediately. 2017, I founded already like my second company, the Yuanda Robotics, where we created the collaborative robots with human-like sensors. So I had like more or less 3 jobs: university, so research, my first startup, and the second one, which was kind of a VC case. And I mean, too much, by far too much, because I don't want to simply sit there and say yes or no, but I want to like actively participate in these companies. And focus is super important. And that was more or less even the motivation or the reason why we more or less separated or linked our first startup to this robot-assisted surgery company.
When we're talking robots, there's not too many companies that do robots, right? I mean, there was, I mean, back in the day, right? So you have the big monsters as KUKA or Fanuc, or the Japanese ones, the other Japanese ones. But in 2008, with Universal Robots, there was a push, right? There was a push towards smaller and medium-sized companies. So you were talking about Yuanda, and I remember I was still at Siemens that I got first in contact with Christopher, I guess it was. So this is 2016, 17. And I remember, oh, nice. So there's a German company that does, yeah, it was cobots, right? So, can you tell me, can you tell us or me or us a little bit more about how it came to actually putting together this company? Because the first one you said it was very much driven from university. So more of a, I don't know 100% about if it was a spin-off, but Yuanda was, even though you were still in contact with university, how did Yuanda came into reality?
So yeah, to speak open, it was kind of creation by accident. So we received the question from one of my former students who went to a big corporate and were asked to create a new robot. I was contacted by him and was asked, yeah, I did this and that prototype, but it doesn't work. Can you help me? And I said, yeah.
Are you allowed to speak about which company it was?
It was not not really, sorry. But this is not even important to let you know. It's for any random company. And I said, yeah, obviously you missed like adding gears to your robots. Just an example. You missed like the software, the controlling algorithms, and so on and so further. And I said, yeah, of course I could help you. But I mean, let's check first. So step away back and check. I mean, do we seriously need another robot, and how should it look like, and what should it like be, and for who? So we create more or less a business and technology model for a new technology, for a new robot. And the answer was clear. It was yes, we need a new robot because, I mean, going back to 2016, when we more or less prepared the founding of Yuanda Robotics, I mean, there were quite a few robots out there, DOS-like robots, super big machines, and so on and so further. You just mentioned Universal Robot being kind of a pioneer in like this new generation of robots, but not so many robots were out there and separated even from technology. And I strongly believe that robots should like see, understand, feel in the future to more or less support you even better. So became or get kind of skills, basic skills that they can act autonomously for some applications and in some environments and so further. So I said, okay, we have to integrate technology into robots directly, similar to the smartphone. You can take pictures. Why shouldn't a robot see as well or feel when I touch it? Like have a certain idea of intention of the user and so on and so further, and cover everything in a modern, easy to understand user interface. And this was the intention and like the first birthday or the born of Yuanda Robotics. And then we started it. So it was more or less a spin-off of my first spin-off, so to say.
So it was not necessarily the technology that you thought was so necessary versus what you could actually do with it and how you interact with it, right? Because there was already robots on the market that are doing pretty good and can work pretty precise. But the robotic industry for, I don't know, 20, 30 years was very stagnant, very static. So there was no too much involvement, right? And if you are in that position, especially those big companies, you do need to have an operator that gets very expensive training from you. So every time a customer buys a robot, there's a service model involved, and so there was no real need or no real push from the robot companies to change that, because it was a very well working business model. But you said, I mean, we don't have you do know this picture, right? A desk full of electronic devices, and then over time they become less and less and less. In the very end, you're just holding a mobile phone, because so many things, as you mentioned, the camera, for example, is in it as well. And with robots, the same. You said what you found interesting was not necessarily the technology, but what you can do and how you interact with that robot. So this is how Yuanda came together.
Exactly. So how can you bring technology to end users or to people? Because I mean, at the university, we had always like the answer, yeah, this technology is nice, but we like took care of it 20 years ago. So it's already existing, like the vision, for example, or AI algorithms, even sensitivity, even robotics. I mean, you can at university, you can do whatever you want. But like regarding the, what is it, kind of requirements or usability of technology and how you can like enter or or enable my mom to use all these technologies with fun even. So having fun using technology and robotics, this is like the big question, I would say, especially while looking at the industrial landscape today. And I mean, just looking at the industrial landscape, we can, of course, enlarge this topic even to lab automation, healthcare, and so on and so further. But just in industrial environment, it's a pain to do robotics. Seriously, from my perspective, it could be so much easier. And this is more or less the vision and mission. And it started with Yuanda Robotics. Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
Very often I hear, especially from IT people, that when you ask the question, why is it like this, right? The answer is very often, as you said, it has always been like this is a very common answer, or because the architecture behind that allows us only to do this and that, right? So from me, who is very customer driven, coming from customer success, there's always the idea of it might be all right. It might be the situation we are facing at the moment. So the architecture behind the software, for example, or behind the IT system is regulating the things we can do. But what is if we are not putting this as the beginning towards the problem versus, so this is the problem, how can we solve the problem very easy? And as you said, how can we make it the interaction with the product as easy as possible? And that very often makes it necessary to build a new infrastructure, to build a new ground. And it's not very easy, especially for companies that having a running system that prints money. Investment is always expensive, and there's a lot of risk involved, and there's a lot of, if people knowing and adopting the technology already, then it's very hard to adopt new technology, to learn new technology, right? So people are very defensive about their expertise, because if everyone can do it, then I'm not special anymore and I cannot charge that amount of money anymore, right? So it changes the dynamic of certain industries, actually. Coming back to you, when you guys put together Yuanda, would you like to go a little bit through the journey that happened with it and the outcome?
Yeah, through the journey. So again, we created a collaborative robot from scratch with human-like sensors. So we did like the hardware, the electronics, safety certification, and so on and so further. And at the same time, we created like the complete software stack. Of course, at the beginning, you do kind of trial and error with ROS to have like a very quick running prototype. But if you look like at the requirements of like real productive corporates and so on and so further, and the requirements they have, plus you want a tech stack that can be enlarged and added and be super efficient at the end. I mean, we took the decision to do everything more or less on our own. Of course, like check architectures and so on and so further. But I love to think in kind of greenfield approaches, not in brownfield or limitations. Second step, you can always like check or see, okay, is the market ready, or what does the market want within your greenfield approach? What are the right steps? But again, we created the complete software stack from real time to cloud, more or less, including like an own motion operating system and so on and so further. For this robot, it took us 4 years to more or less finalize the development. We set up an own production.
In Germany?
Produced, I tried my best to do it in Germany, to speak open. But okay, long story short, they told me, or I was told, it will take at least 1 year, more realistic 2 years to set up such a production. So, and I said, okay, I have 6 months. After 6 months, I want my first robots coming out this factory. How can we do it? And then they said, no way. And I established this production line in China. And after 6 months, we had our first robots. This decision, I have no idea. The motivation was not cost saving, to speak open, because I mean, if you have the R&D in Germany and production abroad, doesn't matter if it's in China, US, or wheresoever, you have big costs like doing iterations. Because from my perspective, especially at the beginning, production and R&D have to work close together. And we had a challenge, an additional challenge. At the beginning, it worked quite well. But we had an additional challenge, Corona. So we were not able, it was in fact like 2020 or 2021 or roughly like that. And we weren't able to like meet each other. So we had kind of exchange programs, production guys to our place, R&D guys or girls. I mean, I always say guys, sorry for that. Girls to China and vice versa. Worked quite well. But then, I mean, during Corona times, you know, no one was like allowed to travel. We had big challenges with supply chain and so on and so further, especially since we collected components all over the world to create something great. But nevertheless, I mean, we more or less solved all these challenges, not solved, but at least we learned to live with these challenges and produced our robots and brought it to market. Yeah, that was more or less the Yuanda story. Yeah.
I mean, doing robotics is hard, especially doing hardware. And there's a reason why there's not too many robot companies out there, because it is hard. So there's so many. I mean, robotics is the crown of not necessary, but the crown of technology, because there's so many different fields that need to interact with each other and work perfectly to have a final product that works. So you have sensors and you have mechanical engineering. So there is electronic components, right? As you said, there's vision involved sometimes. And all those things are fields on their own, but you need to make them work all together. And so there's a reason why not too many very long existing robot companies exist, right? And you, as you mentioned, there's a certain quality and requirements that are coming from the industry, and it's not that easy to fulfill them. So if you're buying a robot that is very expensive, that needs to be very precise for a very long period of time. If there's a lot of service involved, if there's a lot of repair involved, that doesn't really make sense for neither side, right? And as you said, you had R&D in Germany and production in China. You were talking about the challenges. In the very end, what happened? What were the reasons why this took a different turn in the very end?
Yeah, so I will answer your question. Maybe I jump into the topic creating products from prototypes, because this is like the big challenge. I mean, you said there are certain requirements regarding reliability, robustness, and things like that. And so you have to like modify your construction, even having everything you just mentioned in mind, even like the service. How can I service a robot? Of course, I can like throw millions and millions of people on this like issue or challenge and like doing service, but this has nothing to do with efficiency and kind of a running business and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of challenges creating hardware or products in general. It's not even limited from my perspective to hardware. I mean, you have challenges, yes, but you have similar, yeah, some challenges are different in the software space as well. Because in this case, you also have to check efficiency, how to service software, how to deploy it, and so on and so further. But back to Yuanda, what happens? End of 21, yeah. We faced financial problems. So quite crazy, because the timing or the time of Yuanda was perfect. So we had our certification, we had a ready to use product, the sales funnel was filled, the production created 1,000 robots a year. So we had a lot of components in stock even. And then financing round failed due to Evergrande, Corona, and some other issues. And the company went bankrupt, but by accident, seriously, so suddenly. So I raised my hand as a good German CEO. Okay, yeah, I'm running out of cash. Have to let government and so on and so forth know. Openly speak to my team. And then an M&A process was established, or kind of quite regular. So who is willing to continue this company? And during that time, I decided
Just a second.
Yeah.
How big was the company at that moment?
We had roughly 100 employees at 3 locations. So 35 in China, roughly, doing production basically, and kind of sales, service, marketing, a small team, and the remaining ones in Germany. Team. So in Germany, roughly 55, 50.
Not too bad.
To give you
pretty big.
Yeah.
Raising the hand must have been very difficult to, as you said, face failure and say, okay, because in the very early beginning you said you're just spending your time, right? But then the moment you are coming to the next level and you're responsible for people that are your employees, right? Then it's a different game, and I think a lot of people are fearing that kind of responsibility, which you have as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, true. So this was my first feeling. Okay, we failed here, obviously. Then I more or less talked to most of my team members. They said, yeah, okay, let's take the chance. And I said, yeah, there is a big or huge chance even coming from these circumstances. So I never think, yeah, now it's over. But I mean, you have to check your opportunities that maybe occur even in this context. If there are no opportunities, okay, fair. You have to say it's over now. Raise our hands. I'm dead. But in most cases, there is a certain way and path to go. And this was our decision even. I mean, at the end, we took it all over, did a management buyout and established Voraus Robotik from Yuanda Robotics. And this was more or less the birthday or the born of Voraus Robotik from this from these let's call it circumstances. Yeah.
I mean, it's I'm glad for you guys that you as you said found a solution for that, right? And finding a way out, because the only way out is the way through. And you said at the moment, and you're still here with Voraus Robotik. Leaving Yuanda behind that, there was a lot of learning that you did. So you pivoted the hardware and said, okay, you know what, let's focus on software. So I remember that when we talked on the slush, where you were so kind to just gave me 30 minutes in the chat area, and we were just chatting, and you were saying that yeah, about your idea, about your vision from Voraus. And yeah, I would like you, if you would like to share a little bit about this. So you said Yuanda is behind that. We now have a new path, new company. Tell us about Voraus. What is the idea behind that? So what are you guys doing?
Yeah, so as mentioned, I mean, we created a cobot with these human-like senses, hardware and software, and we realized during that time already, the software is the key. You don't need a cobot to realize modern software-driven automation. Or why is modern software limited to cobots in this context? So what we did at the beginning, or at the end of Yuanda, beginning of Voraus, we took our software stack and implanted it into industrial robots. And not talking about cobots, but bringing the features and benefits of flexibility, openness, efficient development, and so on and so further to industrial robots. So more or less doing kind of a Windows or Android environment for DOS-like environments. And this was more or less the idea of Voraus Robotik at the beginning. So we provided an operating system for robots. And in this context, yeah, we sold our hardware in order to be not a competitor to our customers and be 100% independent with 100% software focus. And this was more or less the born or the beginning of Voraus Robotik. Today, we are doing a lot more, but later more, I guess. Yeah.
So you said you sold the hardware to the customer versus a competitor?
again, at the beginning of Voraus, we decided to have a 100% software focus. So providing operating system, not just for robots, but today for automation and so on. And in this context, we sold the hardware IPs. So just the hardware IPs and assets. It's even public to who. And in this context, more or less did an implicit, let's call it a seed round. So yeah, and that's the reason why we are today even 100% independent. So the complete company is management owned, no investors so far, and yeah, enjoy it.
Interesting. I think it was just yesterday that I saw a post about or information about Franca. So I think it was last year when they went bankrupt, and this was one of the few German robotic startups, right? So very hyped, very cool, very modern. So finally something cool coming out of Germany, deep tech, versus some, no hate, but some delivery startups. So no, deep tech, German deep tech, founded in Munich and very close connection to TUM. But yeah, they failed as well, right? So they had clever people. There was hardware involved, and yeah, as you said, the bankruptcy for Yuanda came very sudden somehow, very not necessarily out of nowhere, but yeah, somehow unexpected for you guys, or to a very to a moment in time where you guys thought, okay, this would be now a starting point, right? Coming out of Corona. So it's hard, right? So this is another example how hard it is. You guys now focusing on software. I think it's a great concept, and you just teased it already that you guys would not necessarily only for industrial robots, but for automation in general, providing an OS. So what you guys are working on? Where are you now, and where you guys headed towards to?
Yeah, again, we started with like an operating system for robots, so middleware layer and real-time layer and so on and so further. So come from like the inner part or inner core of robotics. Yeah, my initial idea was simply to update these robots to create something great for industry. Yeah, it worked. But if you look at the entire industrial landscape, robots are just one part in this entire landscape. So if you want to create industrial automation processes, you have to take care of robots, like grippers, conveyors, link everything to like an MES or ERP or CRM, is it right? So all those systems, maybe simulation systems and so on and so further. And if you just like solve the issue of robots, like individual outdated software, is updated, then you just solve a sub-problem. So what we did is we integrated more and more field buses, network protocols, services, and so on and so further into our entire software stack, and more or less combined everything in one software stack. Because today you have like, if you, again, want to create an industrial automatic solution, you have to take care of robots, grippers, even PLCs to orchestrate everything. So you need different experts for different stages. And once the system is running, you have quite a inflexible solution. So whenever there are changes, so you want to integrate new technologies to improve, for example, your production line, or you want to like integrate new products onto or into your production line, you have to modify it by experts again. And this is not even, I mean, there's a lack of experts, obviously, and it's not fun. I mean, not sure if you ever programmed a complete industrial automation solution. It's not fun, especially not from a modern software-driven perspective. This is what we do these days. Yeah.
I'm passing by our colleagues or my colleagues in the lab very, very often, trying to find out what they're working on. And yeah, we had different robots in our lab, and yeah, they say so. When you learn one system, doesn't mean necessarily you know all the system, right? Every single robot has their own system and tweaks and twerks and things that are totally different than from the other ones, right? And so I can just imagine, because they had been in business for so long, right? And back in the days when these infrastructures had been built, or these architectures had been built, there were different possibilities back there, not all the possibilities we have today, right? So and now, and building, as you said, layers on layers, it doesn't get any easier. And to ensure that the newest layer is still working with the layer 5 generations below that, makes it very hard. And what, from your perspective, how is the cooperation with the robots companies? And you said you're now trying to not only serving the robot anymore versus an automation ecosystem. How is it to interact with them? Because I think from my experience or from our experience, it's not very easy to get contact with them, to get their support, because everything used to be very closed, right? You can only work with a KUKA robot if you have a KUKA training received by KUKA. And how is it?
I mean, technology-wise, there is no challenge, I would say. So technology-wise, our solution works, but there is a big political issue, of course. I mean, strategic issue or challenge. So it has to be a close cooperation. And I mean, in our case, we have different, let's call it access points, from real time to regular interfaces those manufacturers provide. And just talking about robot manufacturers. But I mean, to complete this picture, this is just one of our customer group. We have industrial OEMs from different application levels, so building companies, logistics, automotive, obviously, and so on and so further, technology providers and even integrators. And I guess the magic is, and again, I love efficiency, and I don't want to create a company that hires hundreds and thousands of people to support all these customer groups, but we have one major pipeline, one major branch for our software. Although working with all these different customers, we can push a button and release our software thanks to our pipelining, automatically tested, and so on and so further. And this is something that makes a difference, I would say. And this is something other companies forget from my perspective, because it's super easy to move a robot from A to B. But when it comes to safety, error handling, pipelining, efficiency, how to maintain your software and all these things around your robot, then it's magic. But again, coming back to robot manufacturers as one customer group, it's a way to go. Yeah, I mean, and it's similar to Android. I mean, why did Samsung finally decide? I mean, there is no dependency on the Android system, and I let it in and focus on hardware and the services around. I mean, it's not purely hardware focused, but this is something I believe we should definitely do. Focus is like the key to provide better life at the end. Yeah.
How many people are you at the moment at Voraus?
35 employees.
How many people got over from Yuanda to Voraus? Because you said you're
number,
at the very end.
25, I would say. So at the beginning, I took all of them over, provided for some people, obviously hardware people and so on and so further, new positions at different companies, or I try to link them to different companies. I took over today's stage, as mentioned, 25, hired some new ones to more or less create kind of a perfect mixture. But and this is super important, keep the hardware knowledge and the norms and regulation knowledge since we released the complete system. And this is quite unique. So we are 100% software focused company, but we know how to link software to hardware, what are requirements, expectations, and so on and so further, because this is super important. Otherwise, not sure if you come over the POC, for example.
You were telling us a little bit about founding. There's a lot of people that listening or reaching out to me that are still at university or in their PhD phase. What would be one of the things that if you could go back in time, and I think this is a very regular question when it comes to these kind of topics, but if you had time to go back to 2012 and tell Jens from back then a few things, look, I only get 5 minutes with you, I will tell you this and that. What would it be? What are the things what you think you made the biggest learnings or the biggest discoveries from you when it comes to building a business, founding a business, hiring employees, having a look at what is my product market fit, which direction I'm going to, and even the very end, you handled somehow the bankruptcy of your former company, and out of it came a new one. So yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I could tell, like people having certain ideas in their mind. And first, and this is super important, um, found with the right people and like have the right people around you. Because I mean, you are not, you don't know everything, and you could not take care of everything and anything in the world. And founding a company with like your best friends being super similar to you, maybe it's not the best idea. Maybe it's good for like having a first or initial learning curve, having fun, blah, blah, blah. But it's not always fun to create a company. So you have to be super true, provide feedback and learn from each other. And you cannot learn from people that are quite similar or even equal to you. Second is not everyone should found. And found is not like hip, or founding is not hip. Because I remember sometimes, I mean, everybody wanted to establish his or her own startup without having like a clue what does it mean. It's not just about going to this and that event where startups like share ideas and so on and so further. Yeah, it's nice, but just for the first couple of months. Then you have seriously become an entrepreneur, and this is nothing for everyone, I would say. I have a lot of friends working for like big automotive companies, for example, and they would never found something. But this is fine. I mean, this is fine. It's not like a rate of this and that group of people. So just look into yourself and ask yourself, I mean, what makes me happy? What is there like the will to change something? What is it? Is it just driven by technology? Do I have a certain idea of business models, sustainability within my company? Because this is missing in most cases as well, especially regarding deep tech. So you found a company with like your PhD colleague, but you have no clue how a business works. There's great technology, but where's the market and how does it work? And you have to be like, as a founding team, quite familiar with all of these disciplines. This is super important. And then yeah, just give it a try. Just give it a try. I mean, you don't need 6 months lessons how to create and like establish a company. Give it a try. If you have the right feeling and the right attitude, then it works, I would say. Yeah, and be super open. Listen to the feedback. Maybe this is an important point as well, because I met quite a lot of founders, and they never listen to feedback. Of course, I mean, if someone tells you this is crap what you are doing, it's quite tough. Maybe it's true, maybe not, but at least like try to look behind what he or she said. Is it true or not? What can I improve, and improve yourself and listen to the market to realize what you mentioned, the perfect product market fit. This is super important. Don't think you know everything best. Never the case. Yeah. But keep your vision, of course, keep your vision.
I mean, the iterations necessary to build a product that customers want and not want versus are willing paying for, right? Because if I can just say, I would love to have this, I would love to have this, is something else versus I need this and I'm willing to pay for that because the value is there for me. In founding deep tech in Germany is hard, would you say? I mean, as you are founder and CEO, and we've been meeting each other at that startup event, and you told me that you've been talking to a lot of investors, but other founders as well. Would you say that the German or the European market, especially nowadays, AI and robotic, is that something where you think other countries are doing better? Do you have experience from that? Because you haven't found it somewhere else, but from talks and yeah, being in that bubble.
I mean, looking at the US, for example, of course, you have different tickets, and you raise money on visions, so to say, in Germany or in Europe, or like even, I mean, depends maybe on the investor or the partner. You have to prove your concept and the way towards your vision. And from my perspective, yeah, it's maybe from the outside, it's harder, but it's necessary to have like this way, at least in your mind. Of course, you have to modify and adopt this way. But if you just have a vision, without a clue how to reach this vision. Not sure if it works. So of course it's hard. Again, it's hard to find something. But I remember back my first startup. I worked in a garage, having kind of a what was it, a beer? What is it? Beer. I mean, you know where all those bottles are inside. This was my share. So no need for a fancy co-working space and this and that. If you seriously believe in something, you don't need that much. You just need the right people doing this. Not sure if you like focus on the question, okay, is there enough money to seriously create something big and great?
No, I was
Depends.
more thinking about regulations and help of the
Regulations.
governments, especially as AI is a big topic now, right? So people are using ChatGPT and Midjourney. So these are the tools that people are using in their daily life, but there's not too many use cases coming out of it. Versus using AI in existing software, right? Microsoft just released all the existing software packages they have, including AI. Samsung Galaxy, including AI, right? So here using AI to enable existing software, accelerating or providing value in a different way. And I think here there's a lot of talks that Germany or Europe in general might not be the best place to build a company that has as a base AI, right? And you guys are involved in that deep tech conversation. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, so yeah, I understood your question. It's tough at the beginning, seriously, to handle or take care of such questions. You have to take care of such questions or requirements anyway in the future. And the question is, I mean, what is the perfect order? Should we like prove our idea first and have kind of early customers or early adoptions and be like able to do so? And then take care of all those DSGVO, not sure about the English word, or,
I will have a look at it.
all these challenges. It's a good question. I mean, so far, I simply try to accept these roles. I mean, I don't like them, seriously. I would say we could be much faster, especially in some areas, if we wouldn't have to talk too much about this and that topic before, again, like creating something and give it a try. But I cannot change it anyway. And that's the reason why I don't want to like spend too much time answering these questions. But again, yeah, I mean, it's much faster in the US or especially in China. I mean, they don't take care of this and that. Is it good or bad? I guess we could fill more than 1 hour with this discussion, if
Most
it's
likely.
good or bad, if it's sustainable or not. Because at the end, what I would like to do is like create a sustainable company. Not like, okay, it's temporarily there for 1 or 2 or 3 years, but sustainable. And sustainability comes only if you like take care or at least spend some time on these questions. Maybe you can change it in the future, maybe not today. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I think the way you're approaching that is totally right. Accepting that this is the situation it is, and there's nothing you can do at the moment about it. So let's focus on solutions versus complaining, because complaining will not change anything, not at least not short term. Long term, there's initiatives that you can take on. And as you said, we should have a look at outside of our circle, see how other companies and countries are facing those issues. But as an entrepreneur, you do need to just, okay, this is another obstacle I need to take care of so I can finally focus on the things I would like to do, serving my customers, selling products.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm very happy that you took the time, and then you just said we could talk much longer about certain aspects we talked about today. Try not to make it too long, not too short. So I started with 30 minutes. I'm now around 55, 1 hour. So I think this is the perfect time, and it gives me the opportunity to ask you again in a few weeks or few months to be my guest again, because the year 2024 is still very young. You said there's a lot of things in work for Voraus, And yeah, I would be more than happy to have a second meeting, as I said, in the future, and see how things came together, if Voraus is still sustainable, and how is business. Yeah, but I'm very thankful that you took the time to talk about you are the person, Jens, behind Voraus Robotik, and yeah, I'm not 100% sure if we see each other again on the slush, but it was kind of it was an experience. It was they do know how to do these kind of events, right?
Yeah, yeah. I will attend the slush anyway. So
okay, okay, nice. Let's see. Thanks, Jens, for taking the time. I wish you a wonderful day, and I think I might jump in if I have the time to be. You're still situated in Hanover, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I will definitely take the option to say hi if you let me, and see have a look at the office and your R&D
Of course, yeah.
offices.
Of course. A lot of things to show here, so it's worth the travel and the visit.
Nice. Okay, so this is officially now an invitation. I invited myself. I tend to do this, but yeah, thanks for taking it on.
Of course.
Awesome.
Okay.
Then have a wonderful day, and talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.